I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to Profiling Criminal Minds. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dr. Redmond.
And what I learned this week is that forest fires don't smell great. I swear to God, I look out the window of my house. I am a province and a half away from the forest fires. And Americans might not understand how big a province is. Like
Ontario is bigger than Texas.
Oh, it's a lot bigger than Texas. But more than that, like I want to stress that the right side, the easternmost part of the province where I live is directly above New York State, right? The westernmost point of the province where I live is above like Michigan?
No, Massachusetts.
That's where you live. That's where you
North
live.
Dakota.
North Dakota. You're right. I keep thinking
practically
in my head. I'm
close.
like, the westernmost part must be where she lives. No, there's another 8 hours of Ontario.
No, there's another 10 hours because it's 8 hours to get to Thunder Bay.
And then there's another 2 hours.
2 hours to get to Manitoba.
There you go. So there's another 10 hours west of you. So that's my point. That's how big Ontario is. And so when I say that it would be a 20-hour drive to get to the province where the fires are.
You'd have to go some parts north.
Yeah, exactly. You'd have to go a bunch north to get to where the actual fires are, right? And that is how far the smoke is getting. And I look outside my window. I can only imagine how bad it is for you, but I look outside my window and it is just white haze outside. Like it's like there's a fog and it's all toxic smoke. It's crazy.
Well, you can't go outside. Like I did go outside today, but the only time I'm walking in it is to the car.
Yeah.
And then you put on the air conditioning in the car, even though it's not hot here.
Yeah.
Because
you have to clean the air.
Yeah. You keep it internal.
Exactly. You got to keep that air recycling. You got to have it constantly filtered. It's crazy.
Yeah. And then, okay. But because we're close to the lake and the lake isn't covered in smoke yet, because we're closer to the lake, we're not as bad as, for example, Sudbury, which is 3 hours east of here.
Oh, those poor Sudburyans.
Because they're up higher and they're inside, right? There's lots of lakes there.
They don't have the water there to help clear things.
And what happens is Lake Superior, the wind comes off and keeps blowing things away.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, we had, of course, the high value warning. If you look in Ontario, you can look at weather alerts, right? And then you just go look where all the alerts are, and all the alerts are in Northern Ontario, west, and then they get down to yellow and things like that, but there's the high red alerts. And I think there's a fire. I think there's a fire in northern Quebec as well. So that may be affecting you.
I mean, northern Quebec, it's going to be trouble for the smoke to get back here. I mean, northern Quebec, that's going to be bothering people out in Nova Scotia and in Newfoundland.
And stuff like
that. We're not going to get that here. Wind only blows east. That's the one thing you got to remember.
Yeah, because the way the earth turns.
Exactly.
But this is, it has been, yesterday was really bad. I didn't go outside yesterday.
Oh, hey,
I just kept everything
all right, but
clear.
Hey, we're not here to talk about the weather. I did start us talking about the weather because, oh my God, the weather is a nightmare. Well,
it is. I got up in the morning and you just look at and they say there's going to be rain coming, but you just look outside and everything is hazy.
Yeah.
I look out my windows and think, oh, geez, I got to clean my windows.
I look up and I'm like, is there a cloud in the sky? Maybe that's just all haze. Maybe there's no clouds. Maybe that's just all smoke because the entire, the ceiling above where I live, it is literally just undifferentiated light gray. It's like, because when the sky is covered in clouds, I can see the texture of the clouds. Here, it's just, it's just all smoke, man.
No, it's called hazy.
Well, yes. Hence my use of the word haze earlier.
Yes, that's what they call it.
It is crazy out there. All right. So the important part is Criminal Minds
crushed it again.
Crushing it yet again. But the thing that gets me is it's not like we're being personally attacked. When they made this show last year, they weren't thinking about us, and they sure as hell weren't thinking, and we sure as hell didn't know we were going to be like, what if the entire season is just a meditation on grief and loss? That didn't used to be what the show was about, man. But okay.
Okay, so obviously the powers that be decided that Criminal Minds was going to produce something to help us through our agony.
Apparently.
You know,
I don't know how else to read this, man, but this is just I mean, it's the perfect time.
Synchronicity, Daniel.
No,
Synchronicity.
That's what it is. I mean, it's the show we care most about. It's the show we watch most, and it's the show we watch most closely. And it's like they're messaging to us specifically.
And there is no way that either us or them or anybody could have known what was going to happen
absolutely.
to us.
Well,
like it has been, like I suppose January and February but by March, ever since March, it has just been
one nightmare after another. Yeah.
One nightmare after another. And we can't even tell you about all the other little nightmares that are going on. And they're all in, this is, as I said, if this is going to go down.
I mean, we're considering 2025 to be a complete write-off. Just like, no.
Yes, it's a write-off, guys. So,
you know, just we're expecting nothing from the year 2025.
If they had tried to write to our
situation, I don't know how they could have done a better job.
No.
If they were specifically trying to write this season of television for us, I don't know that they could have done a better job.
This is so weird. It is so weird, and I don't think it's going to get any better.
No, of course.
You know, for the rest of the season.
No, and given everywhere the season seems to be going, I think we're just in this for the long haul.
Well, it's helping us work through our grief.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and isn't that what television is supposed to do? I don't know if that is what television is supposed to do, actually.
No, and listen, and I'm watching Person of Interest.
A fun show. Not a great show, but a fun show.
But we need to do a Sunday show about Person of Interest because it was it started in 2012.
Yeah, it is entirely a show about the surveillance state, and given what's going on right now, turns out it was right about everything. It's a show about AI and the surveillance state, and look what we're going through now, everybody.
Oh yes, and the headline. We're just going to talk about this just one sec. So the headline of the CBC this morning, one of the headlines, you know, when they do they send their little
with the concept of headlines. Continue.
Morning things. Yeah, their morning newsletter, right? Well, Trump and Musk divorce getting ugly.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you know,
I cracked up. I just went, well, you know, I thought it might be Melania. I saw divorce first, and then I went and I looked back at it. And I went, oh, Trump and Musk divorce, eh?
It's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, couldn't have happened to two nicer guys. All right.
Okay, let's get to Criminal Minds.
Let's get to Criminal Minds, because, my God. So, right away, we have talked so frequently about this show's weirdly ambivalent feelings about therapy. And it's just so nice to see the show calling that out.
I thought the psychiatrist, well, you know, I've never met so many so emotionally constipated agents in my life. As agents in the BAU. And we're all sitting there going, thank you.
Please. All of these people need therapy and all of them refuse to get it. One of them literally is a therapist. Yeah. They still all refuse. It's so frustrating to watch. And to have the character call that out, I'm like, yes, this woman is now my hero. Thank you.
Yes. Even if in the latter parts when she's showing up with Voight and stuff, and I'm going, I really don't buying that. Why the hell is she there? But anyway, never mind.
No, she's his doctor, so it makes sense.
No, that's not his doctor that she's seeing.
Yes, that's his doctor. That's the whole point of the episode.
Oh,
That's why
that's
he's there at the
his
end.
doctor that
Yes.
she's
That's why she
See?
says you could have gone to see, like someone at the FBI, yet you want to talk it through with me instead. It's because it's Voight's doctor. Now, yes, the lighting and the way it's shot, I didn't immediately recognize until she said
Okay.
that line. But yeah, it's Voight's doctor.
Okay, so that's because she looks
Yes.
so different
She
with
does
her
look very different in this episode.
extremely, because when she's at work, her hair is like practically up in a bun, and she's wearing never
Different
mind.
hair can completely change how a woman looks.
So
Everybody
I
agrees
take
with
that back.
All
I
right.
take that
It
back.
does make perfect sense why she's
And
yeah.
all the other stuff then makes perfect sense too, because she's not really she's giving therapy.
Well, what I liked about the episode, and I mean, I'm just going to admit this straight off, it completely got me because I'm watching this. I am watching this episode, right? And I am looking. It's like, why is she talking to Voight's doctor? And it's like, is she so like broken down that she just needs to talk to anybody in front of her, and this is the best thing? And when it turns out the entire thing was a therapy session for Voight, I'm like, yes, okay, perfect, you got me. I didn't see that coming for a second. They completely bamboozled me, and I loved it. It makes and the thing is, they completely bamboozled me while showing us that it made perfect sense, right? Because Voight, he is experiencing empathy for the first time, so he has to process his emotions through other people. They make that clear in the episode, and at the same, they make it completely clear in the episode, and yet when the reveal came at the end that she was doing this therapy session in front of Voight to make it so he could process his emotions, I'm like, oh my God, that's perfect. Because they had told you what they were going to do for the whole episode, and I still didn't see it coming. My favorite kind of surprise. So yeah, I was very happy with that. Oh my God. But yeah, bleak episode.
Well, it was therapy for JJ.
It was definitely therapy for JJ.
Yes, it was not pretend therapy.
No, for once she actually had to do therapy.
Well, yeah, because I mean, what I really liked is Emily bringing up the point to her.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll go through the episode, but we're talking about what really got to us is Emily going through our point, which is that, remember a couple of weeks ago, I said something about how, no, I'm sure Will didn't force her. Maybe it was last week to go into therapy.
Yeah.
Because except once in a while, but not a consistent, continuous therapy, because he behaved as her therapist.
Yeah.
He was the rock.
Absolutely.
And everything. And I said this right at the beginning when he died. I said, what's going to happen to her? Because she has leaned on, Will has done the emotional work for JJ all her life.
For their entire marriage.
For their entire 18 years together.
Yeah.
He does the emotional work for her.
Yeah. So she does, because she can't, look into herself.
Yeah. So
and she never has been able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden she's got no one to calm her down. No one who understands her. No one. Yeah. She's got no one, and she has no coping skills.
Yeah.
And it's very, very hard. She doesn't know what to do with all of this. As I always said, when Redmond died, it's just, okay, I've been through this with my father. I will get through this. I have coping skills. I will.
You've developed these coping skills based on tragedies in the past.
Yeah. And Will has done the emotional work for her.
Yeah, for the past 18 years. Because there are entire episodes about how she never dealt with her sister's suicide. Right? She's like, well, I caught the guy who drove her to suicide, so that essentially means I dealt with it. Nope. Has nothing to do with the emotions.
No, has nothing to do with the emotions.
Closure's a myth. You have to learn to process, everybody. You
have to learn to process. It's like my therapist said to me, okay, Sheila, this academic work is just fine, but how do you feel about? Come on,
I know.
How do you feel about having to give up your entire worldview?
Yeah. If you'd like more thoughts on this subject, if you'd like to hear a real what's the nicest way to say emotional breakdown? go back and listen to our episode where we talked about the TV shows the movies Doubt and Spotlight, and you can hear much more intense version of this if you'd like some clues about what we're talking about.
But I mean, we're watching this, and watching JJ just like, I mean, it was a stellar performance.
Oh, she is not amazing.
She should be getting the best actress.
It pisses me off that they're not going to get nominated this year. We've said that every year in Evolution, because we were very clear that the past 2 seasons, right? Yeah. Joe Mantegna should have been nominated for the work he was doing on this show.
Yeah.
And this is just the kind of show that doesn't get nominations.
And this episode and her performance here was
submit it.
Stellar.
Just submit it. Guys, maybe they won't nominate you. Submit this episode. AJ Cook, Best Actress in a Drama.
Unbelievable, this episode.
So good this week.
Yeah, it's the other ones have been leading up to this. Now I want to see who directed this episode.
That is a good check. Maybe she directed it. I know she does sometimes. She's going to go check while we keep talking.
Yeah, I've got someone called Nelson McCormick who has done a number of other episodes as well. Okay. So that's who directed this, because I don't think she could have directed herself
and acted at the same time. Yeah,
no, not that performance. That was
yeah. You need somebody outside of it to be telling you to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and to be, because you can't, it's like a therapist, a psychiatrist cannot do their therapy for themselves.
Yeah. And it's when you have to get this kind of a performance out of somebody, it would be too difficult for them to, do it while, I'm going to do this incredible, heart-wrenching, deep performance. Now let's go check the VTL to see how it looked. No, that's just not, how it works, guys.
No, and I think that it's the same. Well, yeah, and then you'd have to go and do the part with the killer of the week.
Exactly.
So no, it had to be done by somebody else.
That makes sense.
And this is the sort of, and it's the funny thing is that this is also a case of, this is why you need an outside therapist. Now, I say you have to get a good one, because basically Will was her therapist.
Yeah.
Functioned as, he did all the emotional work for her.
Yeah, and he forced her to talk through these things.
And
he wouldn't let her shut down the way Emily does.
Yeah.
Hey, just little, this is not a drive-by, this is not a criticism. I'm just going to say, I noticed Emily hasn't been drinking as much wine this year.
Notice that, eh?
I did notice that Emily hasn't been drinking as much wine this year, and I'm, less worried about her.
We're
as
happy.
A consequence.
Yes. And actually, Joe hasn't been, we haven't seen Joe lift the whiskey as much either.
Well, no, after what he went through last season, that's understandable.
Yes.
Like he processed a lot last season.
So my God, yes.
Yeah. Oh my God, did he ever?
Yeah. So this is
yeah.
No, we're this episode. JJ's, as I said, her performance just submitted. My God, if only for this single episode.
And if Voight could get himself a supporting actor on a TV show, because he's in the cast, you can't call him a guest actor. That would be fantastic as well. Because he's so good this week. And he's good every week. Like, it really is an amazing character he plays, and he does it so well. But this week was especially, now that he's suicidal, now that he is having to, every new thing he remembers increases his guilt, and you can see it on his face, right? He is being shattered by the guilt he feels, because now he has the ability to feel empathy for all the people he made suffer.
Well, let me put it this way. I am still sitting on, I'm sorry, but I still, every now and then I get something that goes, because when they get this guy, because because we're talking about Voight, I will just say it. There was one point at which, like, here I am totally absorbed in all of this and going along and all the rest of it. And then, they come back to him and say, well, he's got a message for Sicarius.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't die? And I went, oh, he's not dead? And I'm going, okay.
Yeah, I see. Now, to be fair, right, like he had been told that was the MO of Sicarius's people, right? So it's not like that memory's coming
No,
from
I understand.
But I do understand your point. I understand your point.
It's just
could
every
all
now and
be
then.
a con. But again, the MRI has demonstrated that he is feeling empathy. Right?
And I'm still going back to, yes, his childhood.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about his childhood before the fire.
No, we don't.
That killed his parents.
Yeah.
We do not know whether his parents were halfway reasonable parents or horrible parents.
That's true.
And so therefore you've got all of those years, because what his uncle told him, of course, it was his fault and he killed his parents.
Mm-hmm. And that's what he was raised to believe.
That's what he was after his parents were dead. But he was like, what, 8 years old then?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we do not know if the first 8 years were good or bad.
Exactly.
And when we have seen flashbacks to how his uncle brutalized him.
Yep. And made him complicit in murders.
And he tried to escape, and you saw him trying to go and tell the cops. You saw him when he was younger.
Oh yeah.
So that there was, his sense of right and wrong still existed there. He didn't have to split himself off into these different people. And it's not a true multiple personality disorder because it's too late.
Yes.
So he's living these lives that are completely separate, but it can crack really easily. So yes, the coma, like I'm still thinking about everything that before the coma.
Yeah.
And all of the flashbacks and stuff that we saw that first year. You know, it might behoove us to go back and watch that first year again.
It wouldn't, yeah. That might be some really interesting stuff in there if we go back and check.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm 75% of the way saying, okay, well, maybe this empathy thing is going to be, and this is how they're going to turn it around. Although I can't imagine that the BAU would accept that he's not the same person. Well,
they're certainly not acting like they accept it.
So that, which is good from my percent. We need to have the skepticism. The only people who seem to think that it's okay or is Dr. Ochoa, who has not known him before the coma.
Yes.
Okay. And then there's Tara, who is a strong believer in her ability.
Yeah, to read this kind of, to essentially understand people and understand the not the physics.
Yeah, because
like the biology of brain chemistry.
And yes, and serial killers, because that's what she's been doing all her life. And never forget that we have sort of quasi wondered and mused about her sociopathic tendencies. So she looks at the MRI and she's going to be convinced. Yeah. So, she is bringing certain presuppositions to this as well. So is Dr. Ochoa, who has never known, so it is because, and do we have an MRI from before?
Yes.
See, here's the problem is you don't have, as far as I know, an MRI of his brain before the coma.
No.
So it may have been that if they had done an MRI and talked to him about his family and his children and everything else, we might have seen some of this empathy stuff actually was there. He just suppressed it.
That is possible. Yeah.
Okay. So he could do all the other things. So it's not a shock that although what has happened is that the empathy thing, because of the coma and the loss of memory, because of how he got beaten, has pushed the empathy stuff to the foreground.
Yeah.
Now, the question then becomes to me whether or not he can is whether or not, like, so it's driving everything right now. Is it going to drive everything in the future
Yeah, that's
as
the
he
real
gains
question.
his memory back? And so that's what I would say. That leaves me just a little. I'm making my case here. Okay,
You remain skeptical, and I understand that there is plenty of grounds that under which you can be skeptical here. I'm not saying I'm definitely right. Far from it. You have every right to be skeptical of.
Well,
his
you and
behavior.
Tara can and Dr. Ochoa can get together.
We are all, yes, 100% on the page about the state of him. But just the fact that, like,
And me, I'm on Team BAU.
Exactly. Well, no, but I mean, just the fact that, like, this show is doing such a good job
it's
presenting his condition and keeping us guessing. That's so impressive.
Oh, no, it is really impressive. And the fact that they say it seems that his memories come back when he has to confront a person.
With somebody. Yeah, that's the really interesting part. That it's like hearing someone's voice isn't helping.
No,
right? Just
it's
hearing
not.
someone's
He
voice.
needs to have the visual.
To have them in the room with him. Yeah. He needs to see them. That was nice. The other key element is there's something he says that it's the show using language very carefully in a way I like, which is the only thing that the brutal man, brutal. Sorry. Whenever I saw the name Brutal Man, I want to go into the Sean Connery because in the movie Zardoz, he's a brutal for Zardoz. Whenever I see the word brutal, the only thing that goes into my head is the movie Zardoz, which, if you haven't seen Zardoz, man, go see Zardoz. Oh God, just the most nonsense hippie 70s movie. Oh my God, those 70s hippies, man. Oh, I loved him so much. Zardoz.
The 60s hippies too.
No, but it's like,
yeah.
What that and Logan's Run, man, is the most like ridiculous 70s hippie sci-fi. Oh, I loved it so much.
Even the Omega Man is like that.
Omega Man's a little like that. It's not as much. I think there's more action in the Omega Man.
Yeah, well,
there's a little more action in the Omega Man, and like there's a clearer threat, whereas like the hippie 70s sci-fi I love, because I mean Rollerball is also kind of hippie 70s sci-fi, but also there's action and like clear ones. But I'm talking about hippie 70s sci-fi is where people are just kind of hanging out.
Yeah.
And it's just weird for the sake of being weird.
And I have no idea why.
I'm talking, THX, Zardoz, Logan's Run. Yeah, there are plots, but do the plots matter, or are we just hanging out in these like ridiculous lounges with orange carpeting?
Oh my God. And
orange carpeting, everybody.
But and as I've already said about Easy Rider, right?
Oh my God, yeah.
Oh my God, boring,
movies, man. So boring.
Boring. It is one of the most boring. Jack Nicholson is the only one that kind of
holds your attention.
And not even all the time.
Well, no, but I mean that's a character. That's because like you look at the other two, Hopper and Carradine, right? And you're like, okay, but these guys don't like want anything. They're just like drifting through life. That's the whole point. Jack Nicholson's character is a guy who is completely dissatisfied with his life and needs to find like something to do with himself. And so obviously there's conflict there, and he's a guy experiencing this new world. But he's not enough of the focus of the movie for it to be an entertaining film.
I know. Well, no, and that's exactly it. It makes me want to go watch Chinatown or the Two Jakes.
Chinatown. Oh. All right,
but
we're drifting too far. That's on us.
I know. Well, it's because this whole episode is because then we need to get to the main.
Before we get to the main plot, though, just a couple more things about therapy, which is. And I know that this is not a surprise because there are entire TV shows that are just about therapy. But it's just so funny for like years and years and years of watching Criminal Minds and its antipathy towards therapy, right? Mm-hmm. And the show being like, how do I put this? Not understanding that it's like therapy is inherently dramatic. Like
Yeah.
therapy
Okay.
is just inherently dramatic. It is two people sitting in a room and one of them doesn't want to say something important and the other one's job is to get them to say it. Like that is every like every story you've ever heard about interrogation and how compelling interrogation is to watch. That's every therapy session. It is an inherently dramatic thing to make fiction about.
Yeah, I mean, and this was particularly good. You see, here's where things are a little, for me, that whole the session between JJ and Dr. Ochoa, right? Those scenes, partly because they brought in a whole bunch of not just extraneous, but you can see her. I'm going, okay, she's supposed to be a neurobiologist. A neurobiologist, right?
Yeah, because she wants to understand how the brain works and
the rest of it, and show
her dad died of an aneurysm. Yeah.
Yes. But what happens is that she is behaving like a really good therapist in many ways by pushing JJ all the time when JJ doesn't want to answer.
Mm-hmm.
JJ wants to avoid, and she tries to go back, and so we get sort of flashbacks to how JJ, for example, she just showed up right to the plane.
Just got on the plane.
Just got on the plane after Emily said no.
Yeah, but I love it. It's like, how did you get them to, it's like if she had said no, right? If she had said no, how did you end up going to Cleveland anyway? And she's just like, well, I just got on the plane. They're not going to.
Well, no, she doesn't say that. No, she says no. She keeps going. It's unimportant.
Yes, but she makes her say it because we see the flashback, which is the story being told. But I just think it's funny that, it's like there was no trick. It's literally just, she's my best friend. She's not going to throw me off a plane. Like, that's the entirety of how she got on the plane. The important part is not how she got on the plane. The important part is that she refused advice. She decided what was best for her and she wouldn't listen to her friends. That's the importance of the scene, not how did she get on the plane. And that's what the show understands. And that's why I loved that scene.
Oh no, that's why I loved the scene too. It's this, that she keeps pushing, and it is the breakdowns. And I mean, JJ still needs more therapy because there are some issues still going on that we could spend some time with.
Yeah.
That she's going to have to work through, but we'll just assume she's going to work through that off camera, some of that. So it is, and that she was wrong about Voight, and I'm still going. I can, even when I heard this, she said, well, I was wrong about Voight, and that Voight didn't do this, but we both said that Voight couldn't have done this, right?
Yeah.
That film that was on BAU Gate, and she refused to tell Dr. Ochoa what BAU Gate really was.
Yep.
And that, and she didn't tell her. No, it's unimportant, right? It's just this new uploading that was the important thing.
But I just loved it last week. Our response to her saying that must be a picture of Voight. We're like, I guess it could be time released, but you got no reason to think that's Voight. Oh, well,
no, of course not.
Symbol. What?
No, he's in the hospital. How is he going to get out and do any of that?
Yeah.
I mean, he had to have prepared that ahead of time.
He would have had to, but it's like, more importantly, like there's no reason to think this guy in the video is Voight. And right.
And JJ jumps to that.
And because the funny part is, like, she jumps to it because she needs everything to be Voight's responsibility.
And and everything has to be black and white, and there's good and bad, and that's why she loves her job.
But like the preposterousness, right, of him having recorded 2 years ago a video of like him going into a house and murdering a family. Right. And doing a specific motion in that video and then remembering to do that to JJ while he was in jail so that at some point in the future he could release a video. Like, no, that's even for Voight. That is too preposterous to assume that he would do.
No,
it's way too preposterous. So I'm glad that it's like, no, it's just another guy. She's just seeing Voight in every shadow because of course you would in her position.
Yeah. And I don't, and the funny thing is yes, it's because she wants, I mean, she does get to the crux of why the job is important, is because they can resolve things somehow or another. Except that what she finds this time is that nothing gets resolved.
No.
And that's because Will's not there to help her resolve it.
Yeah, to figure it out and to teach her how to process the stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To process it along with her. So, it's so that they can keep all of this horrible stuff from the children.
Oh, God.
And, it is
extremely well done.
Extremely well done. Like, I will go back again and say, they should just dump it in, and just say, look,
I know you guys don't think you're going to get an Emmy, but there's no harm in just trying to get her a nomination.
Yeah, because this was just
such a good episode.
Because we've already talked to Breen about last year and how Joe should have gotten it.
Yeah, Joe Mantegna was absolutely robbed last year. Oh.
Yeah. So, and I do think that that's what this episode, though it was stunner, the facial expressions, everything was just, and when she would start to break down, and of course this had never happened to her before, ever.
We'd had. In the aftermath of her being tortured,
but not in the middle of.
Yeah, I mean, no. When she murdered the freezing guy, she was going through similar stuff.
Yeah, but this is different.
No, this is different and worse. But this has happened to her before, like her having a complete breakdown and murdering a suspect. That did happen. Like she has broken down before, and the difference is this time, she listens to Emily and she gets a hold on it, and she's, able to talk to the killer. Now, it's possible that killer, maybe she talks him out of killing himself, maybe he never planned to kill himself, who can say, but she handled it the right way because of the conversation she had with Emily, right? And by the way, the conversation we had with Emily was so great. Like, hey, remember when you were going to go marry a guy? Remember that? Oh, yeah, turns out he was a creep. I guess we should finally get some closure on, she was going to marry that guy, and then that just never got mentioned again.
Well, now we finally find out why. I mean, that was never one of our real complaints about why she left him. But now we get the story, and I'm just so going, funny. Boy, are you thinking you're lucky stars?
Oh my
there.
God!
Oh God!
But my favorite part about it, right, is and Breen gave us that little hint about stuff we can expected. Literally, like, there is a huge contingent, right, of fans out there who just want to see JJ and Emily kiss, who have just been waiting for, 12 years now to see JJ and Emily kiss. So for them to bring up the prospect of a threesome with the two of them involved, oh my God, show, you know exactly what you're doing.
Well, your fans.
Yeah, your fans, and you know what you're doing to those fans. It is teasing them to the point of cruelty is what they're doing to their fans with that moment.
And frankly, I can't see Emily and JJ getting together.
No, but it's not for us. It's for the fans who, are obsessed with the two of them.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying is that this is not...
They're not a healthy match.
No, they wouldn't be. Oh my good God.
No, that is not a good match.
Jeez.
Oh my God!
But you can see people.
Oh yeah, no, I can see people who love to fantasize.
Who would love?
No, those fans are out there. Those fans are absolutely out there. We're not them doesn't make them less valid.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. We're not the only ways to be. We have never thought our way of being fans of the show, because let's face it, we're not really fans. We're critics. It's fine. Is the only way. We love the show, but there's a difference between loving a show and being a fan, which of course is short for fanatic, and we know what those people are like. They're the people.
And God bless them.
Yeah, they're the people who asked to take Matt Gubler aside in airports and tell them that they're worried about Reed. That's what a fan is.
Yeah.
Oh my God. All right. So let's get to it. We should probably talk about the actual plot of this episode.
Yes.
So it's funny, right? I was going to say, it wasn't going to be a major criticism, but I was going to acknowledge something about this week's episode, because in the past, right,
Mm-hmm.
they have been happy to do, I mean, what's the nicest way of saying shamelessly ripped off famous movies about serial killers? What's the nicest way to say that?
Mm.
They're happy to enjoy the inspiration from some of the luminaries of the genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the nicest way I can possibly say that. And sometimes they just remake an episode of Wire in the Blood. Not going to say which episode it is. We all know which episode it is. If you watch Wire in the Blood, you know which episode it is. But anyway, the weird part about the way they have structured
Mm-hmm.
this, like the killers, and the fact that the killers that are influenced by Sicarius and part of his network, they are all people who are damaged in one way or another, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they are people who might never have become serial killers if they didn't come through his system, right? If they didn't go through his profile, if they didn't get the online reinforcement of their feelings, right? They
Mm-hmm.
might never have making the step to going from fantasies to being in real life. And the thing that I find interesting about that is, what it means is there is a possibility that essentially their development as serial killers, and it's going to be weird for me to use this word, but I do mean it, was in a sense corrupted by exposure to Sicarius and his network. And what I mean
Mm-hmm.
is, serial killers generally developed based on their own life experience and their own fetish. But now these guys are developing based on exposure to other serial killers fantasizing about serial killing. And the long walk I'm going on is to make the point that this killer's murders are clearly themed around the movie The Purge. From The Mask to the torturing the family to make people choose, he was inspired by the movie The Purge, likely The Purge election year, or whatever it was called. Right?
Okay.
And the reason I find it interesting is, in the past I've been like, oh, well, we saw what movie they were ripping off this week. But the weird part is, now that you have serial killers whose development is being artificially accelerated, right? You can actually own your plot being inspired by a movie because, well, what would this serial killer who is desperate to find a theme for himself, like, what would he have looked to figure out how he wanted to do his crimes? He would have looked to horror movies.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, the fact that this guy's crimes seem to be inspired by the movie The Purge, it no longer looks like, oh, well, this is just a thing the writers like. You can extend that out to saying this is something that the killer was inspired by because he is living in a world where his fandom of a movie franchise can, actively lead to things in real life. And I find that really fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's an interesting touch because in season 1, right, Breen was happy to say, I say season 1 of Evolution, season 16, right? Breen was happy to say that, yeah, the writers really enjoyed the movie Barbarian, so we wanted to do an episode with people crawling through pipes. Now, there's nothing about the guy torturing people for God in the basement that has anything to do with the plot of the movie Barbarian, right? Which is about, actually, I'm not going to say what it's about. If you haven't seen Barbarian, I think you might enjoy Barbarian. It's got some nice surprises in there. It is a horror movie, it's really good, and there's some great surprises that I'm not going to spoil. But the plot of the episode had nothing to do with the plot. They just liked the claustrophobic people trapped in this dungeon visual that is, of course, a major part of the plot of Barbarian, right? And so they said to themselves, well, how can we get that visual and that vibe? And so they crafted their own narrative where those visuals made sense, just because that's a visual they liked in a movie. Here, you can weirdly, because these guys aren't organically developing into serial killers, it gives them license to more nakedly use elements from film
Culture.
simply because, yes, from popular culture, because the killers would obviously be the kind of people who watched the Purge movies.
Yeah.
Movies where murder is legal, yeah, I could see a serial killer might enjoy watching that series of films. Like, it makes perfect sense. So that's just my little nod to whether they meant it or not. That's an avenue they could go down that I find is really interesting.
Yeah, well, we'll keep watching.
Oh yeah, we'll keep watching and see if that happens again. But yes, easiest killer in the world to catch. Like,
Yeah.
like, it's funny. So I was watching Miami Vice. I talked about this the other day, but it's pointed here. Because there's a great scene in, of course, one of the beautiful scenes in Manhunter, right, is of course the scene where he's standing there at the board trying to figure out how both of these families had been targeted. And so he figures out the home movies and says which service, right, which service did they use to process their home films and blah, 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 right? And he's looking at the board the whole time. And of course, as I'm watching Miami Vice, I see that exact scene happen a year before he made the movie Manhunter, right, in an episode of Miami Vice. I'm like, okay, Michael Mann liked to reuse stuff. And so, because everyone knows when you have different victims, you want to see how is he tracking them, what do they all have in common. And the fact that this like crime was immediately like solved by just checking their credit card slips and finding out they all went to the same locksmith.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
It's really not that difficult at all. I mean,
well, they didn't have a lot of time.
No, they didn't have a lot of time because there was so much work they had to do with the Voight stuff.
And therefore, they did the obvious thing that we complained that they don't do.
Yeah,
in previous stuff.
Yeah, just like,
just check what they had in common.
Yeah, check what they had in common. The psychology is not really relevant to solving this crime. It's literally just, Garcia, can you just check all of their credit card records and see if the same company appears on more than one? The same company appears on both of their credit card statements. Oh, great. Fantastic. Done.
So who's the next one?
In an amazing coincidence, right? Here's another family. And because it's like in an amazing coincidence, he's right there now. Oh, okay. Whew. Is it contrived that like he happened to be right there? Well, no, because every killer is a spree killer, you know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So.
Yeah, because what we're here for is not the killer this week. We're here for the journey that JJ goes on. All of the stuff with the serial killer is just a way to get us to this emotional journey she goes on. That's the meat of the episode, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're here for. That's what we care about. And it's exceptional.
And to do the family stuff.
Oh, of course.
Is just perfect.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You know, absolutely. To do the, yeah. This one was,
how are they still misusing the term family annihilator?
I know.
It's been 18 years. We've been complaining about it for more than half a decade. We have been telling them stop using family annihilator for a serial killer that murders a whole family. It is when a parent decides to kill their entire family to avoid the shame of being failed as parents. Sometimes they kill themselves too. Often they don't. The woman who pushed her car into a lake and drowned her two children and said some guy did it, right? That was a family annihilator. John List was a family annihilator. The guys from In Cold Blood were not family annihilators. They're just murderers who killed a family.
Yeah.
Family annihilator means a specific thing. Stop using it wrong.
Okay. Maybe they should. I just went and looked at Wikipedia. I put in family annihilator, and so this came up. And so now we use the term. Here's the term. Please. Familicide.
Ooh, so they want to use familicide for what we would historically call a family annihilator, and want to use family annihilator for any time you killed a family, or which one are you saying?
Well, this is what I'm looking.
Context?
I am now going to look. Family annihilation.
Yeah.
Between 1900 and 2000, there were 909 victims of mass murder in the U.S. Of those, more than half occurred within an immediate family. So it looks as if we may have to sort of backtrack if we look at the Wikipedia thing.
Yeah, I'm not going by Wikipedia.
No, but what I'm saying is that, yeah, I mean, they've done. So now they are breaking it down.
To the different, yeah.
Although the familicide cases are relatively rare, they are the most common form of mass killings. However, statistical data are difficult to establish due to reporting discrepancies. Familicide differs from other forms of mass murder in that the murderer kills family members or loved ones.
Yes.
So they've broken this down as a form, I guess. Anyway, I'll do some more reading on
You'll
this.
do some more reading, but no. Like
plus this is one of those ones that needs verification.
Needs a lot of citations, I have to assume.
Yeah, I mean,
to be fair, this isn't a crime that happens often enough.
No.
There's a lot of research on it. But no, historically, the term family annihilator exists to describe a John List type scenario where a guy murders his entire family because he is a narcissist who cannot be seen as failing his family in public, failing to be a provider. It is the kind of serial killer or mass murder that is most likely to be triggered by financial pressures, right? Just as a general rule. And we need that word to describe that situation. You can't just take it for any time somebody kills a whole family.
No. And that is exactly what family annihilation is.
Yes, that's what family annihilation is.
Yeah.
It's a guy trying to eliminate his entire family so that, all of the people who society has said he is supposed to be in charge of, right, stop seeing him as a failure. Right? It is the crime of the narcissist. It is the ultimate act of the narcissist, is to murder your own family, because then you won't be seen to be a failed family man. Anyway, so it's just, I know I've been talking for years about the family annihilator.
No, we don't have to read, because it's very clear here. Family annihilation. The family annihilator is clearly exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And this is therefore not a family annihilator.
Exactly. But they use the term.
This is a mass murder.
Also, he doesn't even kill the whole he doesn't kill the whole family.
No, he doesn't. He always wants to leave one alive.
To suffer. Which, even though he says, and again, it's a great job by the show, even though he says, he's just doing it because he wants to. No, man, you don't have that specific an MO of wanting to leave one person to suffer unless this comes directly from your own life. And
it doesn't seem to matter which of the parents
member it is, exactly.
Or which member it is, or the child or whatever.
Yeah, a child, mother, the father. This time, the last one where they get interrupted, he wanted the father to be the one to see all the rest of them die. He wants each one of them, I think he wants a different one to each time to see how it feels. But this is obviously something that comes from his own life, whether he admits it or not. Now,
and he assumed, and then he dressed up, of course, the mother.
Yeah. In the mask
and everything, and said that they would shoot him.
Shoot her. Yeah, I thought that was a nice touch. All right.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into the big question. Now, there is a great example of language being used carefully, right? Mm-hmm. Because we are told that the one thing he said was that he needs to see Sicarius, because he has a message from Sicarius's disciple. Now, all of the characters on the show, including apparently Voight, assume that he is the disciple he's talking about.
Yes.
And I obviously think that's not the case. I think Sicarius's disciple is the person who put the video site back up.
And this guy clearly couldn't have done that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think when he says, I have a message from Sicarius's disciple, that is a third party we are not familiar with yet.
Yeah, someone who is very close. Was
very close to Sicarius.
Mm-hmm.
And here is what I hope.
Okay.
And again, there's no reason to think this, but you've been you and your conspiracy theories. And here's what I don't want to have happen. Because I enjoy this character way too much. And I'm just going to say it. Man, I hope it's not the Doctor.
Oh, Dr. Ochoa.
Yes.
Oh my God. Would that be the twist?
I mean, honestly, it'd be quite a twist. I hope it's not, but I could see, because of the care she's taking with treating him, and because it's like he would have needed a doctor. I mean, it's entirely possible. It would have helped him to have a doctor around in communication with, to when he was generating the profile he was going to use to figure out who was a viable serial killer. Like, having a neurobiologist around would have been hugely helpful for that. Now, I don't know how they would have met each other. I don't know how they would have known each other. I'm just saying they could pull that twist on us. And it would make me very unhappy because I like this character so much. And I worry that pulling that twist would make it so that, you know, all of the very good lessons she's had for us about the importance of therapy would be able to be cast aside because, well, she was just using that to manipulate people. Obviously, I hope that's not the case. But you see how I got
But the
there,
minute
right?
you said it, I'm going,
you're like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Please.
I
mean,
right?
it's quite possible.
Yeah.
It's actually not a far-fetched twist.
As theories go, it's one of my least crazy.
But
we definitely hope it's not the case.
I'll have to think about it more.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I'm sure we'll be seeing her more often.
Oh, it wouldn't shock me.
No.
You know, like, and again, it's very good. And again, can we point about how great it is, him asking Dave to let him kill himself?
Don't get me into why I'm still 25%.
I know. Well, yeah, because of course, if it was all a plan, that would be a perfect manipulation. Yeah.
I tell you, I mean, the way he manipulates Dave, or he's trying to manipulate Dave.
Well, honestly, I think it might be pretty successful. Oh,
well,
my
pushing
God.
Dave, yeah.
Yeah, the pushing Dave seems to be pretty successful for what he's wanted to do so far.
You know, so, I mean, as I said, that's why I'm reserving my last 25%.
Yeah. Right. But the fact is, the thing that made me suspect her is how I mean, obviously any doctor would be, but the way she was, you know, blaming Dave for for Voight's suicide attempt. That's what made me suspect her of being his disciple.
Well, surprisingly, I didn't understand why she was blaming Dave.
Well,
so yes.
Your point. Yeah.
So yeah.
That's
like,
why I put it in my head.
When she says that, that didn't come into my head, but I am going, well, why would she blame Dave for his suicide attempt?
Really good question. Maybe because it's part of the manipulation. Anyway, like I said, this is a stretch, okay? Although I gotta say, the idea of him having
the more
a disciple,
you think about it,
the more it could work. But the idea that I love about a disciple, right, is it. And this is why I genuinely believe, and this is just the writer in me saying this, right? Why I genuinely believe Voight must not be faking it and must now be having empathy and legitimately forgot everything is because, right, it is so much more dramatically satisfying if he has a disciple who desperately wants him to go back to being who he was. And he doesn't know how to do that. Like, he has a disciple who Voight is the most important person in their life. And they want nothing more than Voight to come back, but that person doesn't exist anymore. That is more dramatically satisfying than if this is a con. And this is just as a scriptwriter who is currently writing an outline for a TV show. What I'm telling you is, of the two options, Voight is conning them, or there is a desperate person out there who needs Voight to be himself again, but that man is dead, and now they have to, you know, that is going to escalate the things they do. when they realize that Voight isn't coming back, that is more dramatically interesting than Voight just conning people. You see my point?
Oh, no. The more I think about it.
Okay. Now that we know that there is a key disciple involved, I think that makes it narratively even more interesting and even more likely that all of the Voight stuff is real, that he is not manipulating anyone, that he is actually going through this. The point is, I've given you something to think about.
Oh yeah, because it's not as stupid as you initially think it is.
No,
because the more I think about it,
yeah,
they might not go that way, and you're hoping they definitely don't go that way. But
but whoever the disciple is, my thing makes sense. But if it's her,
here's
it makes
the point.
So much more sense, given how she's desperately, like, how hard she's trying to get him to remember who he is.
Okay, here's the thing. Yeah, because you would think yes, but here's the thing. Think Hannibal.
Yes.
Just think Hannibal.
Absolutely.
And that is, the psychiatrist who was actually a good psychiatrist.
Yeah, that's true. Hannibal, really good psychiatrist. He's just also a crazy murderer.
Yeah, and manipulator of
a
people.
Very good psychiatrist.
Which is how he can manipulate these people so well.
Oh, absolutely, because he's so good at his job.
Yeah, so instead of helping this person become better, okay, so this is one of the ones for my crazy schemes.
Anyway, like I said,
art projects, my crazy art projects.
We're not saying the doctor is evil, okay? But we're saying we have to be open to that possibility.
At least we do.
We do, yeah. No. And hey, you know what? 5 more weeks, everybody. 5 more weeks. All questions will be answered. Oh, I'm so excited. All right. So let me think. I had one more thing I wanted to say about this episode, which, again, stellar episode, just to be clear. Like, really. Yeah. But, I remember what I wanted to say. When I'm watching this episode, I think about how great the psychology has been all year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is why it pains me that this show isn't getting the recognition it deserves. So people are finally watching. You're familiar with the TV show Leverage?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the Ocean's 11 TV show.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm not going to pretend I don't like it. I think it's a good show. I always liked it. It's come back, right? Mm-hmm. And I've been watching a bunch of episodes. And it's a very fun, there's a heist every week. There's and it's extremely watchable, right?
Okay.
And as I'm watching it, I'm not saying it's easy to make good television. But, and there's no way to say this without insulting the show Leverage, a show I genuinely like, but I'm going to do it. But watching it, I just think about how much harder it is to do what Criminal Minds is doing, where, yes, they solve a mystery every week, but what we're here for is this really, really serious examination of the characters and what they're going through. Mm-hmm. And how last season was a season-length meditation on PTSD. And they had tried to do that in season 14 and 15, and it didn't work. And they're like, no, we're going to get it this time. And so Joe, it's like the entire season was built around this whole idea of how do we cope with trauma and how do we go on with our lives. And now this season is this huge meditation on grief and loss.
Yep.
And just watching Leverage has reinforced to me how much harder it is to do what Criminal Minds is doing. Because Criminal Minds could have kept on being a show like Leverage, where, the theme is, well, every week there's a new rich person who's a scumbag, and every week they need to pull on a heist to screw over that rich person. And that's great, that's fine. But there's nothing bigger going on. There are no larger themes, right? It doesn't mean anything. And no. This is not an insult. You can make perfectly good television that way, You don't need themes and subtext to make good television. You just need good plotting. And in the old days, a lot of Criminal Minds was just good plotting. But the fact that every season now they seem to start by saying, okay, what is this season about? And then they build it outwards from there. That's what impresses me.
Oh yeah, no, this is, oh, I just am, I just don't know how much more we can take.
And again, the fact that it came to us the season we needed it the most.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, I mean, I have never thought of myself as being defined by my, love of the TV show Criminal Minds, but apparently that's happening now. Because it's bleeding into my real life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is the first time it's ever.
The first time this has ever happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right.
Okay. Oh, and the next episode is called Hell is Empty.
Oh, nice.
Nice title.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the description.
No, do not look at the description. And if you do, don't tell me. I've been going in completely clean every week. Yeah, that was the line from the trailer, because hell is empty and all the demons are here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there you go. It's a very good trailer, by the way. When they put out that teaser trailer.
Oh, no, it was great.
Really good trailer.
Yep.
Whoever's editing these things, chef's kiss. You deserve a raise. You're not in charge of that, but you do deserve a raise. All right. So I guess that's that for this week, unless you have any final thoughts. I
don't have any final thoughts.
Okay.
It's probably yes. Just say we loved it. It was, to me, because the JJ thing was so good.
Mm-hmm.
The whole, and she was so powerful in this episode.
Oh my God, was she?
That I'm sitting there going, that's all I can really think of. Like it, I mean, I know that other plot happened, but for the first time, I mean, this just overrode everything.
Yeah.
So I'm quite happy with this. I have nothing more to say.
Yeah.
Except she needs an Emmy for this.
She does. Well, because it made me think about, right, how, and again, I'm not going to say anything to, to belittle the work that Thomas Gibson did over the years on this show. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
But the show did not have the room to allow him to grieve for Haley.
Yeah.
Right? And to make his grief part of an arc. The show just simply didn't have the room for that with the kind of show they were making back in season 5.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they finally have the room to let the actors and the characters go through this, it just makes me love Evolution all the more, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very impressed. So yeah, turns out we're watching a great show.
Yep.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, it just is. Yeah. And of course, everybody, we always have to do the thing. You understand, we're going through this ourselves. So maybe 10 years from now.
Yeah, maybe we'll think of it very differently. Who can say?
We may go back and look at this season and see it very differently. But right now, this is hitting home.
It's hitting hard, and it's exactly what we need.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what a season. All right.
Okay.
So that's that. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there's any profiling related fiction you'd like us to check out, drop us a line at profilingcriminalminds@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you were listening on an app, podcatcher, watching on YouTube, hi, thanks. Rate, review, and subscribe. That's how people find out about the show. We're going to be back next week for the episode Hell is Empty. I have every reason to believe, right, that that's going to be amazing. We'll see you back here for that. But until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.
And have a good week.